Good evening. I want to thank you for meeting with me today so we can discuss a topic that is very important to your financial future, and that is investments. What is an investment? An investment is an asset or item that is purchased with the hope that will generate income or appreciate in the future. Why do you need it to appreciate in the future? It could be for a number of reasons. It could be for education costs for your kids. One day when your kid goes to college, you want to have enough money set aside to help you cover for tuition, because tuition costs is something that currently grows every year. You also want to accomplish something in the future, such as your bucket list. When you get to the age that you are retired and you want to go on that great vacation, you can have a set of money set aside to complete all your goals in life. And the most important reason you want to invest is for retirement. If you do want to live comfortably in the future, when you get to the age of retirement, you want to be able to sit back and relax and enjoy your retirement. You might see people working places such as Walmart or greeters, and you see them in the age of 70 to 80 years old, and most of the time they do it because they like it, but half the time they do it because they have to, because they may have not set money aside enough to be able to retire and not work, and you definitely wouldn't want to be in their shoes. Um, there are three primary investment plans that I want to discuss with you. The first is bonds. What is a bond? A bond is a loan. When you buy a bond, you become a lender. Corporations, federal, state, and local governments normally sell bonds. When you purchase a bond, you are buying a debt from the selling entity. With your bond, investments are paid back through interest. It occurs over the life of the bond until it reaches the maturity date. Your interests that you're paid are normally over 6 month periods, and semi-annually you'll get that interest paid to you until the maturity of the bond is completed. At the date that your bond expires, the selling entity has to pay you the face value of the bond. Bonds have the least amount of investment risk of the different investments that I will discuss with you today. The next investment plan is mutual funds. Mutual funds is a way that you give your money to a professional investment company to invest your money for a variety of different ways. It can include the purchase of stocks, bonds, and different short-term securities. This is the best way to diversify your investments with the least amount of capital. You don't actually own a stock or a bond, but you own a percentage in the mutual fund company, and they're the ones that actually purchasing the bond or stock for you. With a mutual fund company, if you have a small amount of money and you want to be diversified, you want to be investing in stocks and bonds and different securities, the best way and the cheapest way, as I said, is through a mutual fund, because they can do that for you. With this type of investment, it carries some investment risk, but it's still relatively low. The last investment plan I'm going to discuss with you is my favorite, is common or preferred stocks. It is the most riskiest investment plan, but it's the most profitable. It is the purchase of a share of ownership in a company. Once you buy a share of stock, you own the face value of that share. That value can go up and down at any given time. So that's where the risk comes in. Some companies also offer dividends with the stock ownership. It's an additional payment based on how well the company is doing. Now, the advantage of the preferred stock over the common stock is the preferred stock is actually paid the dividends first. If a company is not doing too well and they have a lot of liabilities and debt out there, and they have to pay less dividend this year than they anticipated, the preferred stockholders will get the dividend paid first, and the common stockholders will get to pay the dividend last, or they may not even get a dividend payment. So that is the advantage of having a preferred stock over a common stock. Now, what you need to do to start an investment plan. First, you need to pay yourself. You need to put aside at least 5% of your income if you can afford it. 5% of your income can go a long way 30 to 40 years from now. So you want to try to put at least 5% of your income away. So when you get paid, pay yourself first, put that money aside. You definitely want to take advantage of your employees or your employer 401k plan. That's one of the best ways to invest, because your employer is going to match some of the money, and it's pretty much free money that they're giving to you for investing your own money. On top of that, the money is tax deferred until you actually take the funds from the 401k plan. And then you may have windfalls, like inheritance and salary bonuses and gifts that's given to you. You should also take that money and invest a portion of that money, because that money can go a long way through these different ways. You do want to ask yourself some questions about different things, asset allocations. What is your risk tolerance? Are you a risky investor? Do you have a low risk tolerance? If you have a low risk tolerance, you really want to heavily invest in bonds and mutual funds over stocks. What is your capacity of risk? Are you feel secure at your job? Do you feel that you're going to have the money available to pay if an emergency happens? So when you set aside that 5%, is it something that you probably need to set aside into your savings account versus actually investing? If you don't feel too secure in your job, those type of questions you want to ask yourself. And when did you need your money? Your age. If you're 50 years old, you want to look more into investing in a less risky investment, which is like a bond versus a stock. But if you're 20 years old, like you are, you currently you want to invest in something that's going to give you the highest return, because if you're not going to retire until 40 years from now, you have a long time to make up any loss that you make through a high risk investment. So you definitely want to take that into consideration. Now, I do have an example of some charts of a growth investment, which is normally a risky investment. Based on historical returns from 1950 to 2013, an average annual return was 10.3% for a person that was invested 80% stock versus 20% bonds. So that's pretty much a high return. Now, on balanced investment, historically returns from 1950 to 2013, the average annual return was 9.2%, with 60% investment in stocks and 40% investment in bonds. So as you can see, it's more balanced, but they are getting a percent less. So the higher investment, the lower the money is going to be for you. Actually, I'm sorry, the higher investment, the more money you're going to make, versus the lower investment, you're going to make less money because it's more balanced and less risk. Now, the least risky investment, based on historical returns, a person that was invested in 80% bonds and 20% stock only had an average annual return of 7.1%, which is 3% less than the highest investment. So as you can see, with the gross investment, you're looking at making a higher potential amount of money. So my suggestion to you would be to invest in a higher risk investment, because you are only 20 years old, and I would say for your first 25 years, you want to go with the most investment that's going to give you the most money for your return. So once you get close to retirement, you're around 50 to 55 years old, then you want to look at the least amount of risk, and so you can easily change it into more of a 70% bond, 30% stock. But you want to start out at least 80% stock or 90% stock and 10 to 20% bonds, which is a high risk investment. I would stick with that for at least 20 to 25 years. And then once you get 5 to 10 years into your retirement, you want to take less risk. You can change that into a low risk investment, which I would recommend 80% bond and 20% stock. I hope the information I provided to you today is going to give you some information to help you make the best decision on what investment you want to go with, so you can have a great financial future ahead of you. Once you retire, you have that huge nest egg that you can have money to use to retire comfortably. Thank you for your time, and you have a nice day.